Let's start very simply. What is a hormone? Well, a hormone is a regulatory substance that's produced by one cell and then transported in tissue fluids, such as blood, to stimulate effects on other cells or tissues. Both plants and animals have hormones. Plants have hormones that govern their growth, and humans have hormones that govern our growth as well as our reproductive behaviors, blood sugar, energy, mood, water homeostasis, and stress responses. Hormones impact our bodies in ways that are distinctly different than the nerves in our nervous system. So nerves send an electrical signal, basically in a straight line, to its target cell, and this causes a muscle to contract or a brain memory to be programmed. Hormones, on the other hand, are secreted by one cell, and then they travel in a tissue fluid, such as blood, to a receptor on usually a different cell. So one cell secretes, the hormone travels through the body and then hits its receptor, and receptor action is key to hormone activities. The study of hormones, hormone receptors, and their signaling pathways is called endocrinology. And the body system that houses hormone function is called the endocrine system. Hormones are secreted by structures of the brain, such as the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, as well as throughout the body in tissues like the thyroid, pancreas, adrenal glands, ovaries, and testes. These structures combined are known as the classic endocrine organs. However, there are also specialized cells in the atria of the heart and scattered epithelial cells in the small intestine that are named the diffuse endocrine system. So why is the hormone system so important? Well, every cell, organ, and body process is influenced by hormones, and the influence can be very substantial. Hormones work in a couple of different ways. First, we have the most common action of hormones, which is an endocrine action. This is where a hormone is distributed by a cell, and then it travels through the blood to reach its receptor at a site that is distant from itself. Paracrine action, on the other hand, happens when the cells are quite close together. However, it is still one cell secreting the hormone and one that is influenced by it. The third way that hormones can act is with autocrine action. Autocrine action is when the hormone acts on itself. So it still secretes the hormone, and then the hormone hits the receptor, but it's all on the same cell. Remember that in each of these cases, hormones can only function when they've been received by their receptors. So, though a hormone may pass lots and lots of cells in the body, it is not going to exert an action on a cell until it hits its receptor. Hormones can turn on or off a biological response. When the hormone binds a receptor and activates it, this is called agonism. And when the hormone turns it off, this is called antagonism. Hormones use this combination of both agonism and antagonism to work in concert with one another. And we see often in biological processes that too much of one hormone without the others being balanced can lead to disruptions in hormone function. Hormone balance is governed by a really lovely feedback mechanism where if you have too much of a hormone, it tells the structures that stimulate the production of that hormone to stop. And if your hormone levels are too low, you have a feedback mechanism that tells the structures that stimulate the production of that hormone to speed up. And hey, let's produce more of this hormone. So let's take a look at how this happens with the example of testosterone. Let's say that testosterone levels are too high. Well, what that does is it inhibits the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a structure in your brain that secretes gonadotropin-releasing hormone that helps to both build female and male hormones. So, if you inhibit gonadotropin-releasing hormone, You then act on the anterior pituitary to inhibit the production of FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone. Both of these act on the interstitial tissues of the testes until those interstitial cells stop producing testosterone. Well, if you do that long enough, this leads to low testosterone, and then guess what happens? We do the exact same thing but backwards. So if you have low testosterone, that activates the hypothalamus, increases the amount of gonadotropin releasing hormone that's being put out. That increases the amount of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone that get out, and that then goes down to the interstitial cells of the testes and says, make more testosterone now, please. So with this system, you get a very nice balance that allows you to have hormone levels that are neither too high or too low. Now, let's move on and talk about the different types of hormones and have a special look at the steroid hormones.